So, the facts of the Breonna Taylor case, coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, most people are familiar with the name Breonna Taylor. She's one of many names that's used by black people as evidence of police brutality against black folk. Of course, she was killed when a police officer raided her home. Now, when this incident happened, the media basically started out with an initial narrative that they started with. And that narrative was it was an innocent black female who was an EMT and was killed while sleeping in her bed when the police officers botched the raid and when they raided the wrong house. Now, this was completely and totally 100% wrong, but the mainstream media led with this. They didn't see forward to go out and do any real information to get all of the facts of the case. They just ran with a narrative that supports their narrative. And then, of course, the affiliate media, the local media, they also picked up this narrative and just ran with it, which is perfect evidence that journalism is just absolutely dead in America. You will not find any real journalism in the United States of America unless you're dealing with alternative media, because this is where the only journalism exists. And this is why I refer to the mainstream media as the lamestream media, because they always pushing the narrative. People who are leftists, as I always say, they're into the narrative and not necessarily what the facts say. They have an agenda and they're going to push their agenda, be damned what the facts say. Now, I remember that Officer Tatum, came out with a video giving the facts. He had the police warrant, he had the police report. And again, being an officer, he has the intel where he can get the inside information. But before we start to get to the facts of the case, I want to dispel the initial narrative that the media ran with. Okay, first and foremost, she was an EMT, an emergency medical technician. Now, she was at one point in time a EMT, but she was fired from her job. And the reason why she was fired is basically revolving around an incident in which a dead body was found in the car that she rented. As a result of this, she lost her job. So she was an EMT prior, but she wasn't an EMT at the time. But they led you to believe that she was just this upstanding citizen who was an EMT, and that was not the case. Then they said she was shot and killed while sleeping in her bed. That was false. She was actually shot in the hallway where the actual initial shots came from the boyfriend, allegedly. And then again, that was very suspicious, but something that I'll go into later. But she was not killed and shot and killed while sleeping in her bed. She was woken in the hallway. And then they said it was a botched raid. Well, again, that was wrong. The raid, they had the wrong address. They raided her apartment by mistake. No, they had the right address. Not only did they have the right address, but her name was the person in question on the warrant. So they were actually going there looking for her. So no, it was not a botched raid. They had the right address. And lastly, she's an innocent black female. She wasn't innocent. Not if she's basically on the search warrant. If she's a person in question that they're going after, that they went to the apartment for, well, she's not just an innocent black woman, not even remotely. But anyway, so let's break down some of the facts of the case. Now, this was basically the raid on her house was part of a drug ring, and they believe that Breonna Taylor was part of this drug ring that was being ran by her ex-boyfriend. Now, he was in jail at the time, but Breonna Taylor was considered to be the drug bank of this ring. Now, I had never heard that word before until watching Brandon Tatum when he initially did his video on the information in the case. Now, the drug bank is just someone basically who holds the money, and they basically hold the money. And this is a person who's considered somebody who's considered say, upstanding, that the police would not suspect of being a part of something, that they would suspect to be in any activity, upstanding citizen, of course, being an EMT, of course, somebody being an upstanding citizen, that they would never be part of something. Now, usually this is a woman, because a female will be less likely to be suspected to be part of something. So it's usually a female, but somebody who's upstanding, that can put money in their bank account that they can have access to, because as a drug dealer, you can't have just a bank account with $400,000 or $500,000 of money in it without no justification of how you earned that money. It's going to be suspicious. So they get somebody who is considered upstanding. They'll hold some money in their bank account, or you'll stash the money at their home. Kind of like that was what Young Jeezy said in his song, "And then what? I'll leave the rest in my auntie's house." There was always somebody some close to the family, or somebody that they knew who would not be suspected as being involved in anything, that these people would be less likely to be raided their homes. And that's basically what Breonna Taylor was presumed to be, supposed to be in this drug ring. Now, another thing that the media just flat out told us in the initial report of this incident is that there was more than her apartment was raided. It basically was part of a drug ring. And they raided her apartment as well as two other places, the two trap houses. Now, these two trap houses, if you watch the pictures of the trap houses, they clearly was in a bad part of town, but it was a trap house, and it was like a house in the middle, then there was another trap house, so it was like close proximity to each other, just one house apart. And the police basically raided their apartment. They did the raid at the same time, because usually this is what police do. If there's multiple places that's considered to be part of a ring, they'll raid them all at the same time. So you don't raid one place, and then they get to tip the other places off, and they respond and hide all the evidence. But they'll raid all the places at once, and this is what they did. They raided her home. They raided both the trap houses at the same time. Now, when they raided the trap house, they basically got everything they needed. They made arrests. They found drugs, evidence of a drug ring. The media never covered that. They just focused on her home. This is all they focused on, her apartment. But they also had a no-knock warrant. This is something that was a question with a lot of black people, a no-knock warrant, because this idea that if you put a search warrant, that you don't knock on somebody's door, you just enter. Now, the only reason that a no-knock warrant would be issued is if law enforcement believe that when they knock on the door to announce their presence, people can try to destroy the evidence, get rid of the evidence, drugs, they try to flush them down the toilet or whatever, basically destroy any evidence. So you enter the home without knocking, without giving them a chance to respond. And this is what they did. They were issued a no-knock warrant, and they used no-knock warrant at the trap houses. Caught everybody there by surprise. Like I said, they got everything they needed. But when it came down to Breonna Taylor, they did not use a no-knock, because they didn't think that there would be any trouble, no danger, because they basically suspected that she would be home. And keep in mind that there was a 4-year+ investigation in this drug ring, but they suspected that she would be home and there would be no danger, so they didn't exercise the no-knock warrant. They knocked. And I believe that had they not knocked, she probably would. Had they not knocked, she probably would have been alive. If they if they basically would not have knocked, and they would just exercise the no-knock warrant, she might still be alive. So all these people complaining about no-knock warrants, it was probably them knocking the reason why she's dead, because they knocked, and which is police procedure. After a certain while, then you'll enter forcibly after knocking. Well, they did. They knocked on the door. The boyfriend allegedly shot from the hallway, shooting a police officer in the leg, nearly hitting the artery. They were able to, stop the bleeding until the EMTs got there to him, and his life was he basically his life was saved. But they didn't fire into the home where the shots came from. Now, Breonna Taylor was shot and killed right there. Now, question has to be, you know, did the boyfriend really fire the shot, or was it her? Because if the boyfriend fired the shot from the hallway, but he wasn't hit and she was struck multiple times and killed, but then how was he struck but not her? Did he shoot and then jump out of the hallway, or when he's shooting, was she in front of him, which wouldn't make any sense? Or perhaps did she fire the shot? Now, if you watch the body cam footage, and by the way, Byron Gaines of Fresh and Fit, he did a breakdown of the Breonna Taylor cases, like a 4.5 hour video, very interesting. But in that video, he showed actual body cam footage at the time of the incident. The boyfriend, after it happened, was extremely hysterical. He said she shot, but later on in deposition, right, he said he shot. So my question is, who really fired the shot? And if he fired the shot and they both were in the hallway, well, how was he shot and killed, but she was? I mean, how was she shot and killed multiple times, but he was never struck? It's kind of suspicious there. Now, I will believe, what do we believe? To believe that him at the time when he is hysterical, when people most likely not thinking of a plot? Or when he said that she fired the shot up, do you believe he said she fired the shot to try to cover himself? Who knows? The fact is, it's kind of suspicious that she was shot in a hallway, but he wasn't, when he's the one who was in the hallway supposedly fired the shot. Doesn't make any sense at all. Now, people try to justify him shooting because they say that, well, if somebody is entering your home late at night, well, you fired too, and of course you got Shannon Sharp, I would pull out the Jimmy. Well, I guess you would pull out the Jimmy if you're living that life and somebody knock on your door at 3 o'clock in the morning or in the morning claiming to be the police, which was a common tactic that people use to say that they're police. But you would have a Jimmy ready and cocked and ready to go if you know you're out here living that life. And again, that's another something that's a question. They claim, one of the claims that was made was that the police didn't announce themselves or they didn't hear it. There were some people who were claiming that they heard the police. Some people in the apartment complex claimed they didn't hear anything. But if the police didn't knock, then how were they in the hallway and the boyfriend allegedly has the gun ready to shoot at the moment's notice? So you telling me that they didn't knock, they just bust down the door, but the boyfriend had his gun just at the ready? That's the life you're living? Sounds to me like the police officers knocked and they heard something and woke them up out of the bed, in which they came into the hallway. So sounds to me like the police knocked. But anyway, I just don't believe that the police were wrong in this case. Breonna Taylor, sad that she lost her life, but hey, we all know, if you live in that life, you live that life. That life can catch up with you. You're in the drug game. Eventually, if you stay in it too long, or you're in that game, it's going to catch up with you eventually. And it caught up with her. She was not this innocent female that had nothing to do with it. All the evidence showed that she was heavily involved in it, including transcripts of contact that she had between the ex-boyfriend when he was at the jail on the jail phone. They were just, incriminating themselves and not realizing that the information with the conversation was being recorded. So it's clear and obvious that Breonna Taylor was part of this drug ring, and that's why they raided her home. And I don't see how police officers should be found guilty of anything. They were just simply doing their jobs. Only thing that you can say the police was guilty of is, quote unquote, wantonly shooting into the apartment complex, or whatever that charge is. But given the fact that she's the only one that was struck and killed, because that's where the fire came from, the shot came from, honestly, can we really charge the cops for that? But like I said, they were doing their job. You can't blame the cops. I don't know why anybody's so angry, but then if you don't know the facts of the case, and you're not told the facts of the case of the mainstream media, I guess you would be angry, because black folks are always angry about everything anyway when it comes down to race. And even in light of these facts, you would still have black folks who still be crying and complaining about injustice and police brutality and so forth, even though there's no evidence to show this. But anyway, y'all, so these are the facts of the Breonna Taylor case. She was not just some innocent woman who was an EMT that was killed while sleeping in her bed during a botched raid in which the police raided the wrong home. That was complete 100% false. She was a guilty female, guilty participant in a drug ring, and the facts prove that it out. Anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.